Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
Save yourself the trouble of having to pull back on the receiver to put one in the chamber. Put one in there now. And if you carry, pray. That seems to be a bit of advice that we can put in mind and maybe act upon if we are asking ourselves, what is the local economy solution to jihadi terror, to slaughters of innocent people in schools, in malls, unarmed soldiers on military bases, well behind the front lines of the American imperial war against Arabs. What can we do here? Is there any kind of solution to the massacre that comes seemingly without cause, seemingly at random? In a writing class, as we have been learning at Umpqua Community College in Roseburg, Oregon, a writing class in which a man, Chris Harper Mercer, 26, quite interested in violent methods of social reform, took one of his weapons and killed 10 young people and wounded 7 others. He lived nearby, and he lived in a county in which the sheriff John Hanlon described his act as horrific and cowardly. A man, the sheriff, who is a noted defender of the right to bear arms, and one who, in the aftermath of the massacre at Newtown, Connecticut, who said that he was not going to enforce any lawless edicts out of Washington that offended the constitutional rights of the people in his county. In fact, he wrote a letter to the Vice President Joe Biden in 2013, making reference to these phony limits imposed arbitrarily and capriciously by Washington, or at least the rhetoric suggesting that such were coming. A very pro-gun sheriff, and the killing taking place in a place where no one had a chamber, no one, that is to say, a pistol chamber. No one had a chamber, and no one had one live in the chamber. No one did. And so this admirer of the Irish Republican Army, this admirer of jihadi fighters in the Mideast, Chris Harper Mercer, 26, killed 10 people and wounded others, and then got caught up in a very exciting gun battle with the police, which was, of course, part of his courageous nature. He was going to show that he was a real man. He couldn't get dates with girls, and he was going to show what he was made of. And so fought the professional police and lost his life there. Though the Muslim connection is not clear, it is nonetheless suggested in early reports about this massacre that he admired Muslim fighters and thought that they had, in their examples of courage, right, in their way of killing innocent people and going armed, looking tough, that they really had something to offer him in the way of courage. One of his MySpace connections was a man named Mahmoud Ali Essani, who had many photographs of mosques in Brunei and Mecca, and pictures from around the world of jihadis, not just Irish Republican Army jihadi types, who of course are not fighting in any context of Islam, but them as well as others, some of whom are holding AK-47s. There's one photograph where 2 men are standing behind a pickup truck. Both are masked. Each carries an AK-47 with a 30-round banana clip. One has his forefinger straight across the trigger guard of his rifle. The other man looks as though he is putting a clip in, or just checking to make sure that the clip is clicked in so that he can fire at will. His other hand is on the the evidently cool barrel of his AK, his kind of short-barreled AK-47. The tag says, "Mujahideen, freedom fighters in Pakistan, my brothers and sisters, keep on doing your thing, Allah Akbar." And then Ihsani has another photograph that he posts, and it has an obscenity, which I won't repeat, but he says, my brave soldiers, keep on fighting." Of course, no punctuation. "Keep on fighting for the liberation of Palestine against Israel. Blank Israel. Kill the Jews. Jews are the only infidels," and so on. So this the killer at Umpqua College had an acquaintance, at least a passing acquaintance, with a man who esteems such bold and courageous soldiers who cover their faces and who serve a religious system which has everything against what you, my listener, holds dear. And I would say that the things we hold dear are summed up in the rubric of local economy and the free market. That's what we have here. These are the fruit, in many ways, of Christianity. Christianity, which of course is the great fount of grace, where the whole idea of grace is lived out by God himself, the Son of God, a member of the deity who became enfleshed as a man and who sacrificed himself for his people. The greatest system of life and living in human history, which of course is being challenged. It has been under a 1400-year challenge from Muhammad, the erstwhile prophet, businessman, soldier, mercenary, and slave owner, who lived and died most notably after many military campaigns, one every 6 weeks roughly, in which he destroyed all people around him: Jews, Arabs, others, Christians, Zoroastrians, and others who did not agree with his theory about God and about submission to him. So the question, I guess we're hearing a lot in the news about the killer and how he did something very noble. If he had been, the Muslims are not going to claim this man because he did not explicitly name Allah, and it's not reported that he said anything about Allah Akbar, giving glory to Allah, as he destroyed these kafirs in the classroom. He didn't make any overt motion for Allah, but his methods, no doubt, are admirable. No doubt they follow the protocols that a faithful Muslim needs to consider. Only a faithful Muslim, as he slaughters whites, Caucasians, Tennesseans, even Chattanoogans, when the time is right, not yet, but when the time is right, the Muslim man will come, and he needs to remember in a brief memorial flick of light in his mind. Remember Chris Harper Mercer of Umpqua Community College. He wasn't of the college, he lived near it, but he was involved in this act of slaughter at the college. And his method is no doubt admirable from the perspective of jihad, because jihad always makes that distinction. Are you a Christian? Are you a follower of this Jesus, whom we recognize, but we don't recognize him in Islam as the Son of God? No, he's just a prophet. And at the end of time, he will come back, in fact, we teach, and kill all Christians and Jews, because he is, as we understand him to be, a devout Muslim. And so this Jesus, if you worship him in the wrong way, if you understand him to be something that we insist he's not, and you're a Christian, well, there you go. You're going to meet your God in a second. That, of course, is the quote from some of the survivors of that classroom massacre in Roseburg, Oregon. Chris Harper Mercer asked, "Are you a Christian?" And if the young woman said yes, or the young man said yes, well, he was shot dead right there. Now, these people who answer this question, we have to understand that they are martyrs. If they said yes, and they knew what had already happened, they were already smelling the smoke from his barrel in that enclosed room, and they knew he was already killing. And so the last one to say yes knew very well that saying yes meant that he was going to be martyred, that he or she was going to lose his life there among the desks, the strewn notebooks, the overturned computers, and the chairs lying on their backs with their four legs and their little rubber pads on the bottom of them, poking up toward the neon lights. There he would be lying in just a moment as Chris Harper Mercer turned his semi-automatic pistol now to that man's face and squeezed the trigger. Now, these people are martyrs. A man who says, yes, I'm a Christian, what he's saying is, yes, I believe in Jesus Christ as the Son of God, and I have been saved by him, and I will not deny him at any point, come what may. And that may not be very eloquent as far as words go. There are no other words than yes, and yet a man like that, a young woman like that, some as young as 18 or 19 in that room, are martyrs. You can't say they were martyrs. They are martyrs. And they are now among the saints referred to in the book of Revelation, who are crying out for vengeance. They're crying out to God for vengeance. And of course, there will be a final accounting if you understand Christian theology. There is a final accounting. The ungodly are cast into eternal hellfire. And God's children, whom he has chosen, right? He has chosen them by his sovereign grace. They are in eternal bliss at the foot of his throne with all the other saints. And those who died as martyrs have a greater place than ordinary people like me. Okay, I'm just a regular Christian and a sinner still, and have not been called to that great sacrifice, and yet they have. So the slaughter in the class by a man who was not a practicing Muslim, as far as we know, but who was sympathetic with that cause, that man made of these several Christian people martyrs of the faith, and of course his own death finally in the sights of police rifles and pistols. His death can't be described as a martyrdom at all, because he, as far as we know, while sympathetic with jihadis, with Muslim activists, right, such as Muhammad Abdulaziz here in Chattanooga, he was not apparently, as far as we know, a goer to the temple, a bender of the nose and neck to the Muslim prayer carpet. He had not done that. And so we can't say that he was a martyr for Islam. But he understood its tactics, and he understood that there is great excitement, there is great rejuvenating power, if you will, in calling up power from below and going out in a blaze of glory. What is the effect on local economy and the free market here? What does this have to do with us? Well, we have today, I would say, a very important presentation that's being published. I published it last night, and it is the presentation of Hamilton County Sheriff Jim Hammond. Jim Hammond, a couple of weeks ago, made a presentation before the Pachyderm Club, widely noted, he was widely excoriated by the mushy types who have a religious interest, and a group of people who are claiming to be concerned about freedom of speech. The progressives who are sympathetic to Islam. And I finally, with the help of a Christian couple with an interest in the whole Muslim question, I have a transcript published this morning at Nooganomics.com. And I think it's an important story. I think you need to read what Sheriff Hammond says. You've heard about this. You've heard the slash back against Sheriff Hammond. But I think it's important that you read what he says. And I've given a faithful transcription of his presentation. It lasts about 30 minutes, but if you read it, I think in about 10 minutes you can get the highlights. And that's only at Nooganomics.com. Nooganomics.com is the website in Chattanooga for the man who matters, just like this show, which your host, run, David Tulis, is a presentation, hopefully with a little bit of entertainment, of true and good points that we use here in Hamilton County and places beyond, which are edifying and I think constructive. I hope to offer is my work as editor here at our station, a contribution to the discourse, if you will, a discourse over the great civilizational conflict that is between the Muslim theory, headed in our country politically by the federal president, and on the other side, Christianity. The Christianity is the only real source of opposition to it. If you have just the dreaded and dreary secular humanism that we find in the universities and in the public schools, there is no resistance. It is impossible to resist Islam if all you have is secular humanism. Even if you're a feminist, you're not going to be able. You don't have the wherewithal to say no. If you are a progressive statist, like Chris Brooks, for example, and Chattanooga Organized for Action Verbs, there is no means of resisting the jihad. It simply is impossible intellectually and even spiritually to resist it. And yet here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, and on this show, right, my show is the number 5 show that we have, we do find a slight means of understanding the conflict, the war on Christianity, the war on local economy and the free market. And I say local economy and free market are the fruit of Christianity because they really are. They come as benefits from people who have the ideas of grace, even if they're not Christians, right? Like you, though you are not a Christian, you contribute to this concept, the living out of the concept of grace, which is to say the rule of law, the claim of equity upon legal proceedings, upon commerce, the enforceability of contracts, the rights of ownership, the right of life, the right of representative government. This is, you could say, constitutional government. And we, hopefully, as a free people, as we're described in our Constitution, living the life under what's called free government, right? These are all fruits of Christianity. They rise from the Christian conception of man with its great skepticism of the goodness of man, right? And that's why there are divided powers. That's why the law is written. And that's why there is this separation to some extent of what we call church and state. These arise out of the Christian suspicion of having a union of the ministry of the word and the ministry of the sword. They are separate ministries, and that's where in that right dividing, when you rightly divide these two jurisdictions, it can be rightly divided. That of the church, the word of grace, and then on the other side, the ministry of the sword. There is a distinction to be made, and one, you can't put them together. And that's where this separation of church and state has its origins, though it has been, of course, mangled by the federal court. Well, this is David Tulis, and I do thank you for giving me a couple of minutes of your time. I'd like you to understand that if you like this radio station, what you need to do, my listener, go on a campaign, right? Go on a campaign to support my advertisers. My advertisers are the people who make the station possible. They believe in you. They would like you to believe in them and to patronize their businesses. So, for example, Raphael's Pizzeria at Italian restaurant. You need to go out of your way, right? Go out today and order a pizza. Order pizza today, and you'll have one for tomorrow, right? Because there's a 2-for-1 offer at Raphael's Pizzeria and Italian restaurant. And it doesn't apply to spaghetti, but it does apply to the pizzas. There's one in Hickson by the Highland Plaza, just up the hill a little ways. There's a Raphael's Pizzeria, an Italian restaurant in Saudi Daisy, just by Saudi Church of God, and then one where the air gets thin up on Taft Highway. So it's open every day, and just say, hey, heard about you on the radio. And that way you connect me, David Tulis, your host here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, with that locally owned business. I'll also want you to think about one of our main arguments here is conservative investing, and another part would be divesting national and investing local. But if you're investing nationally, make sure that you get the best advice from Patrick Neal. Patrick Neal is the Edward Jones financial advisor to talk to. His number is 870-7894. That's 870-7894. And his office is next to the Target in off of 153, Highway 153, behind the Cahutta Banking Company building. That's CBC Bank on Highway 1. It's the Highway 153. It's a separate little plaza behind the bank. Just think about that. Patrick Neal is a great one for giving time, very gracious with his time and his explanations. And he's a former Navy man. He's a practicing Christian, homeschool dad. That's how I know Patrick Neal, and I would like to recommend him to you. Also, if you have any heating and cooling problems with your gas pack or your air conditioning unit outside your back deck, make sure that you call Superior Air Systems. Superior in the big orange van, Superior Air Systems. Call 886-6602. That's 886-6602. This is David Tulis. The number 5 show. The number 1 show is that of the Kid with Digital Drive at noon, and also with our Drive Home News Hour at 5 o'clock. Hey, I've got some things I want you to hear. Hang on.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Expect a wet, foggy, and cool start to your Friday with areas of rain pushing through. They may taper off late. Highs only 60 to 63. Tonight, a few lingering showers, lows upper 50s. The weekend still unsettled, especially Saturday with showers likely with highs through Sunday staying into the 60s. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried chicken finger with their special world famous sauce. Open daily locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, and Ringgold. Go get Guthrie's. It's always good. And I'm WDEF News 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Hoare. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
It's Rick Davis Golden Diamonds half-off remounting party going on right now. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds half-off remounting party is an affordable way to revitalize your jewelry. Don't miss the party going on today at Rick Davis half-off remounting party. Give your diamond ring a fresh new look or a new design, as Rick's Golden Diamonds will fix it quickly, or maybe even while you wait. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, 40 years of service, 5301 Brainerd Road, 5301 Brainerd Road. Call 580-2587, 580-2587 for Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, an affordable way to revitalize your jewelry. The half-off party's going on today, so don't miss it at Rick Davis Golden Diamonds. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, 5301 Brainerd Road. Call 580-2587. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds.
The Fed raising rates, China's economy in trouble. Don't let headlines derail your long-term financial strategy. I'm Edward Jones financial advisor Patrick Neal. At Edward Jones, we provide the tools for a reasoned, disciplined approach to investing. Stop by my office next to the Target Shopping Center in Hickson, or call me at 423-870-7894. That's Patrick Neal at 870-7894. Edward Jones, making sense of investing. Member SIPC.
We've got a table here at Delia's in Saudi Daisy, ready to delight in a plate of authentic Mexican food. Delia's spreads a rich selection: loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, maybe the enchiladas with beef, chicken, pork, quesadillas. Every dish beautifully pictured on the menu to help us decide. Join us for lunch or dinner. We're at Delia's in Saudi Daisy on Dayton Pike near the Thrasher Light. Here's dinner. Delia's uses the freshest ingredients, cooked to perfection. Nachos, homemade. Delia's open every day except the Lord's Day. For lunch and dinner, treat yourself to Delia's genuine Mexican food. In Saudi, call 521-7145. That's 521-7145.
You feel better outside your home or business than in? Indoor air quality is important. Mildew, mold, smoke, water, and rodent damage are prime causes of poor indoor air quality. Ducts Indoor Air Professionals, better known as Duct Busters, cleans HVAC systems using 127 definable Duct Busters steps. Let Mark Thompson address the indoor air quality at your business to help reduce employee illnesses. Prevent fires by cleaning your dryer vents. Mark and his parents, Dick and Joan Thompson, have been building our local economy and helping local people with HVAC systems 16 years. Ducts Indoor Air Professionals. Call 876-9907. 876-9907. Ducks. Call now.
Compass Media Network's coverage of the NFL. Hi, this is Jerry Recco. Join Kevin Ray, Danny White, and myself for all the action.
Hot News Talk 1240.
If it's the NFL, it's right here.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Hot News Talk 1240.
This is a Fox News alert. I'm Lillian Wu. A huge miss for the September jobs numbers, with far fewer openings created than the 206,000 that analysts were expecting.
Non-farm payrolls rose just 142,000 in September. 142,000. The unemployment rate, though, stayed with it at 5.1%. As far as revisions go, in August, a month that is normally revised upwards, it was revised downwards.
Blake Berman with the Fox Business Network. July also revised downwards. Parts of the East Coast bracing for Hurricane Joaquin, now a Category 4, battering the Bahamas.
Governor Pat McCrory has placed the entire state under a state of emergency, and he's asking everyone to simply be prepared. All across Charlotte, we have received several reports of downed trees and crews trying to clear the roads for everyone's morning commute.
Felicia Lawrence with Fox 46 in Charlotte, North Carolina. Fox News, we report, you decide.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
Is there anything you can do to save yourself from having to pull back the receiver to put one in the chamber? Well, yes, you can keep one in the chamber so that if you have to draw and aim, all you have to do is click down the safety and you can fire. Because think about this. If you have to pull out and then pull back the receiver, that's a big clacking noise. And the man who's on the rampage, just over there, past the desks and past the office walls, he's going to hear it. He's at a very heightened sense that he's pulling his trigger over and over again against innocent people, and he's going to hear that drawing back of your receiver to put a round in the chamber. And he's going to find you and shoot you. So, and you might not be ready. You might not have a sight picture in order. And so, to save yourself that problem, have one in the chamber now. This is David Tulis, and our show covers local economy and the free market. And we're trying to figure out how to defend ourselves from the coming cataclysm. It is coming. And in fact, just a couple days ago, actually 2 Thursdays ago, a week and a day ago, the Chattanooga Police Department SWAT team, I think, which is connected with the county, had a massacre practice at Hamilton Place Mall starting at 10 p.m. Well, of course, that's after closing hours, and some traffic was rerouted, and WRCB TV, I believe it is, had a photograph of armed men outside this brightly lit exterior of the mall. Well, they're not practicing against any kind of Muslim terrorism. You need to understand that. There is simply no connection between massacres of any kind and Islam. They are simply practicing mall massacre maintenance, okay, maintaining safety, and you're trying to bring back safety as a mall massacre is in progress. Now, it's been since 2012, at least the early part of that year, that the federal government has banned any connection between terrorist acts and Islam. There's been a kind of cleanup, a kind of making antiseptic the mall massacre phenomenon, the school massacre phenomenon. They cannot be connected to Islam and the Muslim worldview, the Muslim theory. Why? Well, because that would sound like that if you did that, you're somehow suggesting that there's a source, a root in Islam of violence. Now, Islam, just if I'm using that word, I want you to understand, I don't mean it to be understood as peace. That is a kind of pseudo definition given to the word Islam in public forums, right? Like the one that will be at UTC on Monday and Tuesday. Well, it is the word submission. That is what Islam means. And to say that Islam means peace is part of taqiyya. Taqiyya is what a faithful Muslim who knows his rights under the law does. He lies to pagans so as to protect the faith. Now, what can we do? What is there a solution to this problem? Well, there's a long-term solution, and then there are kind of short-term solutions. The short-term, I would suggest, is that every man be armed, and that every man pray. Now, pray to whom? Well, pray to God. There is only one God, and He is the God who reveals Himself in the doctrines, as they're called, of Christianity, in the books of Christianity, a vast library. In fact, it took thousands of years to assemble under the providence of the Holy Spirit. And it is a written revelation and a record of a great people who were finally destroyed for their abominations and their disbelief, and the transfer of all the promises given to them to this worldwide body called the church, the Christian church. And as against Islam, there is the church, but the church is there to inform society at large, and there's a lot to be desired of the church here in Hamilton County and Chattanooga, partly because the Christian people are, as Bill Warner has pointed out in one of his presentations, they are unwilling to confront the threat. They're unwilling to see the threat, and Christianity is in many ways kind of omphalos-centric. Okay, well, you want to know what that means? Well, the omphalos is your navel. So if you are omphalos-centric, you are navel-gazing, right? You're centered on your own navel, and you're not really looking at the world at large. And the reason Christianity is like that is that for a couple hundred years now, it has succumbed to a system of thought which makes it sort of impotent, irrelevant, because it is understood that Christianity, the gospel of Jesus Christ, has really nothing to do with the world at large, but simply with the private sphere of one's mind and one's worship of God, one's private piety. In other words, it has privatized Christianity. It is not a world system that redeems the world and all of mankind over time. It is simply a private sphere in which God communicates with His saints one by one and wants them to be holy and have holy thoughts and pray and have Bible worship and go to church and not cuss at home. And that's kind of the limit of Christianity for many, many Christians. And so there's this great attack on Christianity, and the people in Christianity are largely indifferent to the Muslim threat. They do have an advantage, though, here in Hamilton County, and that is that the sheriff of Hamilton County, Jim Hammond, who has many encounters with Muslim people, he has decided that he's not going to remain silent. And about 2 or 3 weeks ago, had a presentation at the Pachyderm Club of Chattanooga, and he spoke to about maybe 100, well, maybe 75 people at that event, and he warns them, he warns us that a great conflict is ahead, and it's being encouraged even within the state itself. Now, if you want to read what he said, I think it's important not to hear it, because hearing it takes half an hour. Do something better. Read what he says. Read it. Now, you read it at Nooganomics.com. That's the website of which I'm the editor. It's Nooganomics.com, and the headline is "City Practices Mall Massacre as Hammond Warns of New Muslim Acts of War." And I'm glad in God's providence I could get that project complete and publish it today, in light of the massacre and the martyrdoms of several Christians at Umpqua Community College in Roseburg, Oregon, at the hands of a man greatly taken by terrorist organizations such as the IRA, and by political organizations such as ISIS and Al Qaeda. These are political organizations that seek a militant warfare, to bring a militant warfare to overturn not just Christianity, but government, the modern constitutional government that we would like to think we have as our protection. Right? We live in Tennessee. We have constitutional government to protect us, and we have also, and I note this favorably, we have also Sheriff Jim Hammond. He is the preeminent military authority in our county. I'd say he's the most powerful person in the county. The sheriff is the most powerful person in the county. His charge is to protect the people through the instrument of the Constitution, which is his source of authority, and he is bound by statute. In other words, he enforces statute in the context of the Constitution, which also protects the people from the state itself, right? That's constitutional rights. So he has a very difficult job of maintaining the rights of the people and yet somehow enforcing the law. And there is an inherent conflict there that will never be settled as long as we have a constitutional government in Tennessee. But but he does have the two duties, and they seem to conflict: maintaining the liberties of the people and the peace on one hand, but also enforcing laws on the other. And on the point of the first, maintaining the liberties of the people and their peace and the protection of their property, he sees a great danger. And you'll read about it at Nooganomics.com, the website of which I'm the mild-mannered editor. I'm very mild-mannered. I want you to know I don't think I have any enemies. I don't think I've offended anybody, ever, except perhaps the CNR group on Facebook, which recently kicked me out. It kicked me out for publishing a post about an interview I gave with a black woman and her daughter, a faithful Christian woman, loved by her husband. She has 9 or 10 children, and the interview. One of the points in the interview, one of the points I made was, here is an example of how Christianity will win. It will win over time because Christians are people who are mild. They are people of grace. They are forgiving. They don't think about convincing people to join their system by knives, landmines, and IEDs. No, their system is very much about grace, about conversation, about mercy and care. And Chattanooga News and Review threw me off out of its precincts on account of my my comments and my presenting of that information. It was called hate speech. You see, these people cannot brook any theory of life other than their own. Well, the federal government has for 3 years now has been trying to end Islamophobia, and of course it doesn't want to have any instructional material that characterizes Muslims as prone to violence or terrorism. So far, as of 2012, 700 pages of documents from about 300 presentations given to agents since 2001 have been purged. The White House order came after it was reported that the Pentagon taught employees that mainstream Muslims embrace violence and compared the Islamic religion to the Death Star. That was very, very offensive, and the Muslims were outraged. But we have to understand that the Islamic world is one of peace and generosity. Look at this. You know that there's grace and mercy in the Muslim system. Look at this. A man who has a female slave cannot rape her during her menstrual period, okay? He can only rape her when she's not having her period. So notice she's been given grace. She's been given a great deal of mercy by her master. And also there are other areas of grace that you may not realize. You cannot beat your wife in the face. You can beat her elsewhere, but not in the face. That's not allowed. Not allowed. And there are many other things that we just have to understand. We have to look for them. I understand we have to look for them. The wife is a plowed field in a marriage, and the thing that she brings in marriage is her pudendum, her privates. That is the main thing that a wife brings. And slaves are treated not much better than that. But clearly the wife does have an advantage over the sexual slave that a Muslim man in jihad obtains by barter, by buying the slave having arrived in his custody in an act of war, her menfolk, her brothers, her husband, her parents destroyed in an act of righteous war against the infidel. The status of women, in fact, is not very high in the Muslim system. Women are wicked, and the reason they're wicked, they can't say prayers during their menstrual period, and therefore they're much more prone to sin. And Muhammad says that that hell is populated by women. He had a vision, and hell is populated by women. There's a lot to know about the Islamic theory, the Islamic system, but you are following, of course, the great news from yesterday at Umpqua Community College in Roseburg, Oregon. The man who killed 10 people, several of whom were demanded their religious beliefs, he is now deceased their religious beliefs. And he was a man who admired the Irish Republican Army, and also had through MySpace, the antique platform for friendships and social connections, he had a connection with a man who is called Muhammad Ali Ihsani. And this man had many pictures of mosques on his page in Brunei and Mecca, and photographs of jihadis with their sturdy RPGs, their AK-47 barrels bristling against the skyline. And one jihadi in a photograph on Muhammad Ali Ihsani's page is aiming a sniper rifle over some bushes. And others are standing about with their AK-47s. One photograph shows two fighters, mujahideen, of Palestine. He said, "My brothers and sisters, keep on doing your thing. Allah Akbar." One man has his AK, which has a folding stock, by the way, and a 30-round banana clip. He has his trigger finger straight in safety now. He's not one for that thing to go off accidentally. He has his trigger finger straight across the trigger guard, meaning he's not about to fire just now. His companion has an AK-47 also with a collapsible stock, and making it very compact for a man who has to do some walking. He's got his finger on the banana clip and his other hand resting on the muzzle, on the barrel of his rifle. Another photograph shows men standing about covered with the white bands around their head turbans. "My brave soldiers, keep on fighting for the liberation of Palestine against Israel. Blank Israel. Kill the Jews. Jews are the only infidels." So this man, whom Chris Harper Mercer had some slight connection with, was rather biased. He thought that maybe Jews were the only infidels. Now, is Chris Harper Mercer connected directly with Islam? I would say no, not from what we can see right now. But his slaughter of 10 people, innocent American students, some of whom were Christians, is being conducted by, among others, the pro-gun sheriff of that county in Roseburg, surrounding Roseburg, Oregon. A very quiet place, a lot of hunting type people there, farm people, and his name is John Hanlon, and he said that this was a horrific and cowardly act. In many ways it was, but on the other hand, if we look at things through the grid of modern philosophy, you would say it's not cowardly. It, in fact, was highly courageous to slaughter innocent people and to go out of your way to ask what their religious beliefs are. Now, the story, the published material that I've seen this morning regarding the assassin indicate that he was not a practicing Muslim, but he was someone who called himself pagan, Wiccan, not religious, but spiritual. And that's according to Examiner.com, and he has a profile on spiritual passions, which is a dating profile. He didn't care much for organized religion. I guess we could refer to that as Christianity. So he did have a grievance against Christians and against the Lord Jesus Christ, who says that if you care for any one of these, my children, you care for me, and if you refuse mercy or water or aid to any one of these, or clothing to any one of these, you refuse it to me also. So the people he killed who identified themselves as Christians are Christ himself, the Lord Jesus Christ himself, represented by those made in his image in that classroom, who were thrown back against the chairs, dead with bullets to the head by Chris Harper Mercer, age 26. He lived nearby, and I'm not sure how it is he was in the class, but we will find these things out as the investigation continues. This is David Tulis, and we're brought to you by Nooganomics.com, the website for the man who matters. And if you are thinking of having a plan B in a very difficult business climate, a climate made precarious by the fact we have national government and a national economy based on IOUs, floating, bumping along on a sea of red ink, you need to have a plan B, and that would be possibly your own business. If you don't have an idea for business, well, you can buy into somebody else's business through the great American system of franchising. And your source there is Entrepreneur Source, and that's Bruce Krebs. Bruce Krebs runs Entrepreneur Source and will get you into a business that fits your capital availability, your background, your interests. maybe you want to do something completely different. Okay, that's we heard at Panera Posse this morning, which is every Friday morning, by the way, at the Hickson Panera Bread Store at 6:30 a.m. From one of our friends at that group, to which I'm invited. Right? I attend Panera Posse because I'm invited to. And this man had just gotten laid off from an engineering firm, and somehow he's very excited. He's excited because now he's out of a difficult situation, and he thinks he wants to be entrepreneurial in his calling, in his profession. Though he doesn't have a engineering license, he wants to advance himself and be perhaps his own boss. He has a plan B, and he's working on a plan B. So Bruce Krebs can help you with that if you don't have your own ideas. I want you also to think about Delia's Authentic Mexican Restaurant. She has been on our station for a long time, and if you, my listener, have heard me once before and heard about Delia's once before, you need to take this second occasion of hearing about Delia's to say, I'm going to go to Delia's today. I'm going out of my way, and I'm going to eat out. I'm thrifty. I don't eat that much, but I'm going to eat out because David Tulis likes that restaurant, and she is his advertiser. You have to understand how that works. In radio, commercial radio, I live by trading with merchants and providers and having you go to them. Okay, that's how you support me. You support my radio station, AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, by patronizing, by trading with, buying from the likes of Maria Hernandez at Delia's. So Delia's is a great place to go out to eat. Call ahead if you like, 521-7145. That's 521-7145. And you'll enjoy the best in Mexican food. My name is David Tulis, and there's a story on one of the websites this morning about Main Street Innovations. An event occurred last night featuring Donna Christian Lowe and others. It was at the Camp House, and 180 people attended. And the question was race and race relations. And I'd like to suggest that race relations have come very, very far. They were very good in the South before the war, and even during the war to prevent Southern independence. Race relations were generally very good. And they became embittered in the era of Reconstruction, in which the national government and the carpetbaggers came and disenfranchised many honorable Southern men, and brought into the mind of the former slaves the sense of claim upon the machine, the claim upon the government, and so there's been some bitterness from that Reconstruction period. Much of it has gone away. I think there's a great deal of mutual respect among races, and except for a few people who are, you might call them race baiters, except for them, I've had very good experiences with black people, and I think many black people have had very good experiences with whites as well, with a great deal of courtesy and mutual respect. So that is something happening in a kind of Christian context. And that was brought about by Main Street Innovations with Donna Christian Lowe. Even Mayor Burke showed up for a few minutes at the event last night. Well, we're gonna talk next with an important writer, and his book is Civilizational Jihad and the Myth of Modern Islam. It's very important that we understand this whole dynamic. We are in a cultural war, and the Muslim system is against the fruits of Christianity as much as it is against Christianity, and it's as much against them as it's as much against the things that are just secular Americanism as against them, but not quite as much. Christianity gets a bullet to the head. Secular humanism and indifference to religion, that just gets a bullet to the leg. But still, either way, there is agony and hurt here in Chattanooga, here in Hamilton County, and here in Tennessee. Tennessee is a state in which there's tremendous interest in it becoming a leading state in the new American caliphate, which is a work in progress in a 5-step plan, which the Muslim Brotherhood calls civilizational jihad. Is very similar to the work of Antonio Gramsci, the Marxist Italian rhetorician, who devised a plan for Marxism to march through culture one institution at a time. In the end, eviscerating and uprooting the family and isolating individuals so that only the state is the instrumentality for mercy, care, goodness, obedience, and faith. And of course, Marxism has faded, but it's been replaced of late by another red system.
Expect a wet, foggy, and cool start to your Friday with areas of rain pushing through. They may taper off late. Highs only 60 to 63. Tonight, a few lingering showers, lows upper 50s. The weekend still unsettled, especially Saturday with showers likely with highs through Sunday, staying into the 60s. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried chicken finger with their special world famous sauce. Open daily locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, and Ringgold. Go get Guthrie's. It's always good. And I'm WDEF News 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr on AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240.
It's Rick Davis Golden Diamonds half-off remounting party going on right now. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds half-off remounting party is an affordable way to revitalize your jewelry. Don't miss the party going on today at Rick Davis half-off remounting party. Give your diamond ring a fresh new look or a new design, as Rick's Golden Diamonds will fix it quickly, or maybe even while you wait. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, 40 years of service, 5301 Brainerd Road, 5301 Brainerd Road. Call 580-2587, 580-2587 for Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, an affordable way to revitalize your jewelry. The half-off party's going on today, so don't miss it at Rick Davis Golden Diamonds. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, 5301 Brainerd Road. Call 580-2587. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds.
Hey, all you gun enthusiasts! Carter Shooting Supply has just bought a crazy load of guns and is having a crazy huge sale event. Going on now, a huge inventory of Smith & Wesson, Glock, Ruger, and Taurus all on sale. Taurus guns have a mail-in rebate for $25 to $50. All long guns and all ammo on sale too, just in time for hunting season. Come in and take advantage of this crazy huge sale event going on now at Carter Shooting Supply, or shop from home by going to cartershootingsupply.com. Highway 58, Harrison. Check our prices before you buy.
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in the Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
We do the best quality work. We have the best customer service, the most competitive prices around.
Cell Surgeon, a painless operation to fix your sick device.
Well, if you have a cheap charger or something that's not really designed for your phone, it can mess with your battery. It can actually fry your phone. So you need to make sure you have a quality product that's going to be designed for your phone.
Cell Surgeon, your smartphone doctor's in the house at the Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
If you charge it in the morning and, by noon, it's at, 50% under normal use. That means your battery's pretty much dead. And once you've reached that point, it starts to deteriorate.
Cell Surgeon. Call 423-668-0100 or go to cellphonerepairchattanooga.com.
We do free estimates. If your phone's not working properly, bring it in. We're more happy to take a look at it and diagnose it and see what we think is wrong with it at no charge. Most phone repairs can be done in 30 minutes or less.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
Don't take it in the bathroom. Don't ever put it in your back pocket. And don't charge your phone while you're sleeping.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza. Call 423-668-0100 or go to cellphonerepairchattanooga.com. That's cellphonerepairchattanooga.com. Cell Surgeon, your smart device doctor is in the house.
Here you are, working to keep your customers happy and to manage your cash flow. IRS problems are the last thing you need, but here they are, flapping about you like vultures. Get help from Eric Pelton and his team of accountants at EJ Pelton Company. Audits, letters, proposed return changes, 1099s, penalty threats. Pelton Tax Resolution Services brings peace of mind and helps you keep more of what you've earned. EJPelton.com.
Offices on Brainerd Road and in Saudi Daisy.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
WSDT Saudi Daisy, Chattanooga.
CBS News, I'm Frank Settipani. Economists and Wall Street investors are scratching their heads. The September employment report that came out 90 minutes ago was supposed to show a healthy gain of around 200,000 jobs, but the gain came to just 142,000.
It's such a big miss that we have to ask the question, what's going on?
Economist Joel Naroff says it could be a temporary slowdown or part of a trend. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
Job gains for the last 3 months have averaged 167,000 per month. You know, that's a way off from where we were last year when we had a couple of months there where we were doing 300 and 250,000. So this report is disappointing.
Unemployment held steady at 5.1%, but average hourly earnings were flat. The jobs report landed with a thud on Wall Street in early trading. The Dow Industrials are down 220 points. Roseburg, Oregon, stunned by the shooting on a college campus that left 9 people and the gunman dead, is trying to make some sense of the senseless. CBS's Steve Futterman tells us what authorities have found out so far.
The gunman, Chris Harper Mercer, on a social media site indicated that he disliked organized religion, and many of the survivors say that before the gunman would shoot at least some of his victims, he asked them to state their religion. If they said they were Christian, he would shoot them. CBS News has also learned that investigators found white supremacist literature and potential evidence connected to the gunman.
One of the wounded survivors is being called a hero. Wanda Mintz says her nephew Chris risked his life to save others.
It's just unbelievable. Tries to block the door to keep the gunman from coming in, gets shot 3 times, hits the floor, looks up at the gunman and says, "It's my son's birthday today." Gets shot 2 more times.
Hurricane Joaquin is leaving a trail of destruction on its march through the Bahamas. Some people are trapped in homes surrounded by floods from torrential rain. Joaquin's 130-mile-per-hour winds tore roofs off buildings and uprooted trees. CBS's David Begnaud tells us the Carolinas have already had a lot of rain from another system and could get much more even if the hurricane doesn't score a direct hit.
Schools are closed near Charleston. City government is shut down for the day, and people are preparing for what the National Weather Service says could be potentially life-threatening flash flooding over the next 72 hours.
It was another active day for Russian warplanes in the skies over Syria. CBS's Cami McCormick has that.
These 18 strikes reportedly focused on some of the same areas the Russians targeted earlier this week in northwestern and western Syria. ISIS has little or no presence in some of these areas, but the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said Russian airstrikes in Raqqa province have killed at least a dozen Islamic State fighters.
A public health emergency is in effect in Flint, Michigan, where drinking water from the Flint River is corroding pipes in older homes. Blood tests have shown high levels of lead in some children. This is CBS News.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? I'm Jim O'Connor, independent life insurance agent specializing in term life insurance. There's been a price war between the major life insurance companies. If you've had your term life policy more than 2 years, you may be paying too much. For example, a male age 45, non-tobacco user issue preferred best, $1 million of coverage is only $56 a month guaranteed level for 10 years. Or a male age 50, non-tobacco user issue preferred best, $500,000 of coverage is only $91 a month guaranteed level for 20 years. The life insurance industry is going through exciting changes. Make sure you're not paying too much for your term insurance. For new or replacement term life insurance, call for a free quote. 800-799-0903. That's 800-799-0903. Don't pay too much for your term insurance. Call 800-799-0903 or visit my website at term22.com. That's term22.com. Rates based on standard underwriting and may vary by state.
Another major data breach has put millions of people at risk for identity theft. CBS's Barry Bagnetto has the story.
Home addresses, birth dates, even social security numbers have been stolen from about 15 million T-Mobile customers. The hackers apparently got them through a company that's supposed to protect your personal data, Experian, the credit reporting agency. It'll now provide victims 2 free years of monitoring. It says so far there's no evidence the information has been used inappropriately.
T-Mobile is the country's 3rd biggest wireless company. morning. Irish playwright Brian Feal, a 3-time Tony Award winner on Broadway, has died. He was 86. In a statement announcing his death, the Arts Council of Ireland called Feal a giant not only of the Irish, but of the world theatre. It took more than a year, but Jane Fonda's found someone to buy her ranch north of Santa Fe. The original listing price was $19.5 million. Fonda and the buyer agreed to keep the sale price a secret. Frank Sedapani, CBS News.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
If you haven't been to Nooganomics.com before, you need to go there today to hear from the Hamilton County Sheriff, Jim Hammond. And what I've done as a public service to you, my listener, and also to the other man who's my reader, is to transcribe his presentation before the Hamilton County Pachyderm Club a couple weeks ago, in which he lays out the military terrain. It is a kind of a recon expedition into the battlefield that is going on now. There is smoke, there are wounded, there are trenches, there are mines, there are deceptive feints on this battlefield, and it's happening even now, even here as we are chatting about it at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We're brought to you by Eric Pelton, the numbers guy, the accountant with an office in Saudi Daisy, and his number is 622-3156. That's Eric Pelton, EJ Pelton Company, 622-3156. And the struggle is laid out for us by a writer and named Paul Sutliff. He's a teacher in Rochester, New York, and his book is called Civilization, Jihad, and the Myth of Modern Islam. I've got a photocopy of it that I'm holding up for you, my viewer, at Hot News Talk Radio on YouTube. We have a YouTube channel, and the book, again, is Civilization, Jihad, and the Myth of Modern Islam. And we're going to ask Paul to kind of lay out the battlefield for us. It's one that Sheriff Hammond aptly describes. Again, it's his presentation at Nooganomics.com. That's the website for the man who matters. And again, that's Nooganomics.com. You should know something about that website, of which I'm the mild-mannered editor, formerly with Newsprint Inc. on his fingertips. Well, Paul, the listener wants to hear about the pillars of Islam. These are the 5 main theories of Islam taught in Tennessee public schools. And in your accounting, there are more than 5 pillars. What are the 5 pillars, and what's the one that's been kept from us?
Well, we're told that there are 5 pillars. We teach this in public high schools. In New York State, we're required to teach it in 9th grade. Is mandatory education. However, we don't talk about the 6th pillar. And that, according to bin Laden and other terrorists and historical Muslims, is jihad. And I can simply read you a small piece. This is what bothers me the most is, again, we have to understand that the first 5 pillars are Shahada, which is the creed. Muhammad is a prophet, and Allah is their God. The Salat, which is the 5 daily prayers. Psalm, which is fasting. Hajj, the pilgrimage everybody has to make once in their lifetime. Almsgiving.
And what's almsgiving called? What's the word for that?
I only discovered it is because in the 11th century, Hanafi Imam, Hanafi is a school of Islamic thought. It's one of the major schools. He talks about the rights of pure. He talks about the rights of Allah. His first right of Allah lists this. It's called the first right of Allah is called pure worship, and this is right from him. It says the first of these is the belief in Allah or Iman, which is the Shahada. The second is prayer, which is the Salat. The third is the Kaf. The fourth is fasting, Psalm. The fifth is Hajj. The sixth is Jihad. That's his wording, word for word. So if one of his scholars, he's considered a scholar of Islam from the 11th century, this is somebody they respect. He's telling other Muslims jihad is part of Islam, a major tenet of Islam. so much that it's a form of worship. And we're not being told this because of this word taqiyya, where Muslims are allowed to lie to us about what they believe. They're allowed to say that, like, we have a professor out here in Rochester, New York. His name is Dr. Muhammad Shafiq. If you ask him publicly, I've done this twice, if you ask him publicly what Islam means, he'll tell you peace. If you turn around and say, what does it mean in Arabic, he says submission. And I said publicly to him, I said, does that mean if I don't submit, you're going to kill me? And he never answers that question. So, I mean, he doesn't answer it satisfactorily. I mean, it's something for you to think about. Why are we accepting this group? Again, they call it a religion. I don't consider it a religion. I consider it a political entity, because they consider the beginning of their religion when it became a political entity.
What do you mean by that? Explain that.
The divine revelations.
Explain
they
that.
consider it when they move out and they're on their own. The trip to Medina, the Al-Hijra is the beginning of Islam according to Muslims, not when the Prophet Muhammad gets his divine revelations for the first time. That's a significant point. It makes a point to say that they are not a religion. They are more of a political entity.
Are they a political entity, Paul Sutliff, or is it fair to say that Islam is a political system? In other words, it's not really a single entity. It is a diverse, not monolithic, but it is spread over many organisms, many entities, many corporations, foundations, schools, and the like. How monolithic is it when you say entity? You're implying it's monolithic.
Well, understand that all of Islam had been ruled by one man, the Caliph, which they have just reestablished. And this Caliph being reestablished actually is part of an Al-Qaeda timeline. And it was established almost exactly on the timeline that had been set. The current Islamic, the people who call this group ISIS are really off, or they call it ISIL. They no longer exist. ISIS no longer exists. ISIS was Al-Qaeda renamed. Al-Qaeda Iraq, AQI is one of the other acronyms you'll see for this. They are actually Al-Qaeda renamed. So you think about this. Al-Qaeda now has a caliph ruling all of Islam in the Syria, Iraqi area. Now this is happening today. It's not imaginary. They have been established for over a year now. They have a certain amount of territory. Boko Haram, which is, they have actually submitted, so they are now Islamic State West Africa. So they no longer exist. This is why you'll never hear Boko Haram used again, except by people who choose to ignore the fact that they don't exist again. And that there was an article actually yesterday I saw on a Twitter account. People are using that word Boko Haram, those words Boko Haram, and that's, again, it's a group that really does not exist in name anymore.
And that's because that group in Africa, whose proponents are blacks, they submitted to the caliphate in Iraq. Is that where the caliphate is headquartered or centered?
I believe right now it's actually in Syria. They've been moving. So, I mean, from day to day, it's a check, and people have to check and see where they actually are. They move, again, al-Baghdadi is a person who has spent much time in American prisons, possibly was trained by jihad, by American trainers, because many of his men were trained as, quote, rebels, and Syrian rebels that our president paid for our military to train.
We're talking with Paul Sutliff, who's the author of a book called Civilization, Jihad, and the Myth of Moderate Islam. It's over a couple hundred pages and is studiously footnoted. Now, I say footnoted because it's not end noted, they are footnotes. And that's very helpful to a reader such as me. I don't like to have to go to the back of the book to find the sources. I want them, as I read material, want them the sources given right there. And it's a book that follows the older, more useful format, and Paul Sutliff insists upon this in his publication of this book. Well, Paul, the listener wants to know, okay, we have here in Chattanooga and Hamilton County, we have many Muslims. They have a mosque. newly built mosque, and you've had, I think you've done some checking on that. But is jihad an obligation on the Muslim people in Chattanooga, led, for example, by Bassam Isa, who's a builder, a developer? He's often given to be the mouthpiece of Muslims when there's a massacre. We've already had our first Muslim massacre here, so he was the mouthpiece there, kind of just separating the common Muslim from the killer. Is the Muslim man, is the Muslim woman, is the Muslim child in my county here in Tennessee, is he obligated to be involved in jihad, and if so, to what extent?
Today, there's two things that answer this. First, if the imam of the mosque is affiliated with the Muslim Brotherhood, the answer is yes. They issued their agenda, and the reason for the name of my book being called Civilization Jihad is that is a term from the Muslim Brotherhood. In 1991, I'm going to read you a paragraph from their 1991 explanatory memorandum, and it's the mission of the Muslim Brotherhood. And this is just one paragraph. I'll just read this quickly. The process of settlement is a civilization jihadist process with all the word means. The Ikhwan must understand, that Ikhwan means brotherhood, must understand that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands in the hands of the believers, so that it is eliminated and God's religion is made victorious over all other religions. Without this level of understanding, we are not up to this challenge and have not prepared ourselves for jihad yet. It is a Muslim's destiny to perform jihad and work wherever he is and wherever he lands until the final hour comes. And there is no escape from that destiny except for those who choose to slack. But with the slackers, the mujahideen be equal. This is one small paragraph from this 8-page, I believe it was 8 pages document. On top of that, you can pick up a book called Reliance of the Traveler, or you can pick up my book. I cite it heavily. One of the things that it says, it's 9.1, it says jihad is a communal obligation where enough people perform it to successfully accomplish it. It is no longer obligatory on others. So if you have enough people taking part in the jihad, and this is jihad is against Dar al-Harb, the people who are non-Muslims. If you have enough people taking part, it wouldn't be obligatory to call on the women or the children. But it is until the action is done, until the two worlds become one. Under Islam, there are two worlds, Dar al-Harb.
Say that again. That's Dar al-Harb.
Unbelievers.
Okay, does Dar al-Harb refer to land of war? And that's because of war being led against people like my listener. Okay, and then what's the other domain? It's
literally land of constant warfare. And then Dar al-Islam, which is their land. Until all of the other Dar al-Harb becomes Dar al-Islam, there is to be constant warfare. And that is in Sharia, and it says it over and over again. It's obligatory also if you are, so we're talking about this imam in Portland, who said that jihad is obligatory. So, and this is actually written in the Oregonian. The gentleman, Mr. Brian Denson, caught the imam out there who is being threatened with deportation and citizenship removal, has said to everybody that jihad is mandatory, obligatory. He's using the term obligatory because that is right out of Sharia, that terminology. On Muslims to go to the Middle East, to Afghanistan, and take part in a war against anyone who is not Muslim, who is there invading. That is actually in the Reliance of the Traveler. It is obligatory to defend the country. That's one of the mandatory things. And again, they use the term obligatory.
Now, you're saying, you're quoting a text that has, and I'm looking at page 57 in your book, and there's a quote from a Muslim source that says, jihad is personally obligatory upon all those present in the battle lines, and to flee is an enormity provided one is able to fight. If unable, because of illness or the death of one's mount, when not able to fight on foot, or because one no longer has a weapon, then one may leave. In other words, if you have a weapon, you can't turn around. You have to be part of the conflict, again, when the battle lines are drawn. But battle lines are always relative. And I would say, is my listener to understand, Paul Sutliff, that even now in Chattanooga, there's a battle line? Is there a battle line, or does that simply refer to open military conflict with explosions and columns of smoke and rolling armor and the like?
Again, so this is the joy of understanding some things with Islam. Now, they purposely try to control language. Now, jihad has three different meanings under Islam. According to the caliph back in World War I days, this is through the Ottoman Empire days, going that far back. He said that there are three different levels of jihad. There's heart jihad, where your heart must be in jihad against the non-believer, which is holy war against non-believer. You must have these thoughts. And then there is word jihad. If there's not enough Muslims to carry out an act of jihad against the area where you're in, then you must do what's called the word jihad. You must speak out for Islam. You must do what's called dawah, tell other people about Islam. You must lie for the furtherance of your religion. I did call it religion.
Of your system of thought.
Of Islam. You must lie for that. Anything that protects or promotes Islam, you must do. That is an obligation. And then you get into individual jihad. Now, that is where you're committing acts of war. You're acting, again, the word is individual. So when you hear about lone wolves, this is a normal thing under Islam. So it's not so unusual. This is why you see more Muslims doing these acts as individual. They're not necessarily a whole terrorist group. It's not an unusual thing. And that's what needs to be known, because it is stated in Sharia as individual. So this is where we get, the concern is to tell the truth, and we're not telling our children these truths. We have to read their books, because they're going to lie to us about what they believe otherwise.
And that's
trying to learn from a Muslim about what they believe is hopeless.
So what we have to understand is that if we read the text of some of the texts of Islam, or read summations of these texts, such as I'm holding up here, for example, The Life of Muhammad, the Sirah, by Bill Warner, who's out of Nashville. He runs the Center for the Study of Political Islam. If we read summations of Islam like that, a Muslim is going to just laugh at us and say, well, that's not the original language, so you can't possibly know what the Muslim theory is all about. You have to read it in the original language, etc. So we're being told that we can't know anything about it if we read a translation or we read a summary. However, you're telling us
because most Muslims don't know Arabic, so that kind of says all these other Muslims are stupid. They don't know what they believe. Well, it's also saying they can't translate anything. Well, that's a totally ignorant statement, also.
It sounds like the Muslim people are obfuscating their material so that we will all just have a kind of a dull glaze on our eyes. Well, let me ask you, Paul Sutliff, about Chris Harper Mercer, age 26. The man who killed 10 and who martyred several Christians at Umpqua Community College in Roseburg, Oregon, yesterday morning. What do you know about him and what you've been able to see in press accounts thus far?
John Guandolo, former FBI agent, wrote a fascinating article on this. It's on understandingthethreat.org or .com. I can't remember. But his work is fascinating. He actually did what we call a social media profile of this gentleman. You'll find that if you go to understandingthethreat.org, let me just get it, it's .org or .com.
It's .com. .com.
It's .com, I'm sorry. And he has an article there. It goes over his social profile, his media profile. There's things that we need to look at today. His MySpace page has been changed 5 times yesterday. So after he's dead, people have changed his profile. So what it actually said beforehand, I do not know. We do know that he had a fascination with jihadis, that he was originally only listed with 2 friends. One of them is a jihadi, and he has several pictures of terrorists with guns shooting. He has pictures of people who are working for that are Mujahideen. Just one quote from one of his pictures says the Mujahideen freedom fighters of Palestine, my brothers and sisters, keep on doing your thing. And this is on his page, on his friend's page. And he has, like I said, he has a fascination with these people. So to say that he's not Muslim would not be correct. To say that he is, we don't have any verification he is or isn't, but he's more likely Muslim. I think that will come out in the days to come. And I credit John Londola for this excellent work.
This is David Tulis. We're talking with Paul Sutliff, who's an author. He is a man who works in the teaching profession in Rochester, New York, and his book is Civilizational Jihad and the Myth of Modern Islam. I recommend you get the hard copy of it, though. If you can't afford that, you can email me, David Tulis, through Nooganomics.com, and I'm sure Paul wouldn't mind my sending you a digital version of it. Though we need to support writers like this.
I sell that. It's on Kindle. It's on Kindle.
Okay, so you want to support a writer like this who's opening our eyes. He sent me a free copy, so I'll let you deal with him directly. We are here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. We're brought to you by Sky Aerial Services, 521-0284. That's Sky Aerial Services, letting the drone find the new view of your property or your event. Now, also, if you have a cell phone that's got a broken screen or a dying battery or some kind of problem with a connection, go to Cell Surgeon in Northgate Mall by the Old Chicago Pizza. The number is 668-0100. That's 668-0100. And there's a remount party going on at Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, a remounting party for your worn-out diamond ring.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Expect a wet, foggy, and cool start to your Friday with areas of rain pushing through. They may taper off late. Highs only 60 to 63. Tonight, a few lingering showers, lows upper 50s. The weekend still unsettled, especially Saturday with showers likely with highs through Sunday, staying into the 60s. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried chicken finger with their special world famous sauce. Open daily locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, and Ringgold. Go get Guthrie's. It's always good. And I'm WDEF News 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Hoare. On AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
It's Rick Davis Golden Diamonds half-off remounting party going on right now. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds half-off remounting party is an affordable way to revitalize your jewelry. Don't miss the party going on today at Rick Davis half-off remounting party. Give your diamond ring a fresh new look or a new design, as Rick's Golden Diamonds will fix it quickly, or maybe even while you wait. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, 40 years of service, 5301 Brainerd Road, 5301 Brainerd Road. Call 580-2587, 580-2587 for Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, an affordable way to revitalize your jewelry. The half-off party's going on today, so don't miss it at Rick Davis Golden Diamonds. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, 5301 Brainerd Road. Call 580-2587. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
After weeks of dithering on ISIS, no strategy, containing them, degrading them, and destroying them, finally, we are clear-eyed. A definitive counter-terrorism campaign against the Islamic State, but not against Islam and not against a state. So who are we fighting? Mr. President, why are you so afraid of words? You scrub national security documents of the word jihad, which is Muslim for a war against unbelievers. Why did your CIA director scrub Islamist before terrorist in the Benghazi talking points? And why is the Fort Hood shooter engaging in workplace violence when he yells Allahu Akbar and his business card says soldier of Allah? Just weeks before a midterm election, the vast majorities of Americans, Mr. President, believe you don't have a clue about foreign policy. You refuse to use the word war. What's with the counterterrorism offensive? Who do you think you are, Jack Bauer? This isn't 24. When you bomb people, send in drones to kill people, order 1,000 military advisors to Iraq, and they cut off our heads, I've got news for you. We're at war. Even your own Pentagon says we know we're at war. So why? Might not saying the word war allow your buddies in Congress to avoid a war vote in an election year? And not sending ground troops, might that be a part of the same political calculation? Even the New York Times says that your so-called Arab allies offer only tepid support. Now,
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Fox News Radio. I'm Lillian Wu. In the investigation into a deadly rampage, authorities in Oregon say they have found a number of firearms at the apartment of alleged gunman Chris Harper Mercer, who killed 9 people, hurt several others before being killed by officers yesterday. Mercy Medical Center received some of the shooting victims.
All of the injuries were gunshot wounds to abdomen, thorax, head, extremities at this point.
Dr. Jason Gray says one of the patients sent there died. Forecasters say Hurricane Joaquin will likely stay off the east coast of the U.S., though the region can still get pounded by rain and flooding. And those help wanted signs much more scarce last month than analysts were expecting.
Economists were calling for more than 200,000 jobs created in September, but only 142,000 jobs were added to non-farm payrolls. In addition, they revised hiring in July and August down by 59,000 jobs.
Fox Radio's Rachel Sutherland. Fox News, we report, you decide.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
The good people such as President Obama, who, if we are to believe a report in an Egyptian newspaper some years ago, was an inductee into the Muslim Brotherhood in his time in Indonesia. People such as the federal president would say that far is better than near, that big is better than small, that complex is better than simple. But you, my listener, you dissent from this argument. You say, no, it couldn't be possible. Is it not the other way around, as David Tulis suggests? Well, we are here, and I'm David Tulis, and we are suggesting that indeed loving your neighbor and buying local is a very good theory. It is, I would suggest, the fruit of Christianity to think that way. And so we would dissent. We dissent from the federal people, the good people, and we would say just the opposite, that near is better than far, small than big, simple than complex. And down in the footnotes where the fleas are, where the fleas battle with their scimitars and their crusading swords, we have this: corporate is better than personal, and abstract is better than physical. But you dissent, and I say, I look very quizzically at that, and I say, it couldn't be true. It could not be true. Personal really is, we think, better than corporate, and physical than abstract. My name is David Tulis, and I do thank you for joining me here at the number 5 show at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, the number 1 show run by the kid, the young man who never set foot in a school room in his life, and yet is our news director. He runs Digital Drive at noon. And our number 2 is Sean Hannity. Number 3, probably Eric Judd, the convivialist, who comes on just after me on days when we don't have the Entrepreneur Hour and Dr. Danielle Mitchell. And then number 4, Keon Rose, our sports guy, who comes on at 1. We've got Cowboy Up with Tex, who's getting back into our good graces. He's back online at 6 o'clock here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, the station where you report and the world decides. We're talking with Paul Sutliff, who is a writer and who's got a great book available through Amazon in paper. It's only $13, and if you get the Kindle version, it's $8, or if you have the unlimited Kindle, it's free. Now, that might be something to take advantage of. The book is called Civilization, Jihad, and the Myth of Modern Islam, and the myth is that it's a religion of peace. The myth is that it has no desire to conquer the world, that, there are many myths, and among them is that we have nothing to fear from it, that we have nothing to be concerned about on behalf of local economy and free markets and Christendom. Christendom itself, you, my listener, I understand you're not a Christian. I understand that, but you have a stake in the defense of Christendom, which a few Christian people are starting to understand, that it has to be mounted. Paul Sutliff, tell us about the theory in the Muslim religion of slavery. Slavery is current practice. It is current law in Muslim countries, and even here in the United States, when we have Saudi families and others who live here, who abduct and keep safe behind bars, if you will, hired hands and the like. What is the doctrine of slavery? And is the doctrine of slavery something that's practiced today in the Muslim world?
A couple of years back, there was a woman in Kuwait who was running for to be in their parliament, and she was advocating for the selling of sex slaves in Kuwait because she thought that would benefit all of the men and the women, the Muslim women. Now she thought this is only 3-4 years old now, and this is still available. If you type into your search engine on YouTube, Kuwaiti woman defends sex slaves, you will find that. And you hear the term sex slaves, think whore, think prostitute. These are women who are kept enslaved for those purposes alone. They may have to do other chores again because they are slaves, but this is what's happening today. Boko Haram took 200 some odd children. Again, children. They took them to be their wives and their sex slaves. There's again slaves you can sell. They have property. So this is one of the things they're doing. The Yazidi girls you hear about again. This is current practice. Again, it's approved in the Quran. It's talked about. Muhammad says you can have sex with all that your right hand possesses. So this, I guess, be more accurate, Muhammad is quoting Allah who says that. So this is the kind of thing that goes on in Islam as normal practice. Nothing unusual. Where Islam is the most prevalent in Saudi Arabia, where Mecca is, sex slavery is normal. And that's something we should be concerned about.
Now, the Muslim theory, of course, doesn't hear when it seeks to have domestic consumption of its ideas and to make itself appealing. It doesn't bring that up, I guess, right? Is that because Americans, like my listener, might be concerned about hearing about that? How is this wart on the face of Islam? How is it powdered over in this country?
Well, it's funny because what they do not teach in schools about Islam allows for people to be misled so easily. We do not teach this in regular schools, and I consider it a huge detriment to the safety and the national security of the United States. And think about that. Is it safe for your children to not know at these things, and you send your daughter or whatever to a country that is Muslim, and she gets kidnapped and gets sold as a sex slave? These things happen today. We're just not talking about them in the media. They don't want to give Islam any bad information on Islam. It only happens today when we hear about Saudi Arabians owning slaves here, and you won't hear about it otherwise.
Well, of course, Christianity is the great system of life, thought, and practice and culture that contradicts the Muslim one, and it is about mercy, grace. Women in marriage are highly esteemed; they're not property. A woman brings to marriage not just her private parts, as in Islam, that is her primary virtue, the primary reason she's a wife is for her privates. In Christianity, we have grace, but we have to admit, though, Paul Sutliff, that even in Islam, there are measures of grace. A husband in Islam cannot beat his wife on the face. He cannot do that. So there's some grace there. And a slave girl or a slave woman in a Muslim compound or home or tent, she cannot be raped during her period. So she does have some relief.
Once a month.
Well,
that's the sad part. It doesn't make any sense. Again, it doesn't say that they can't have sex with them at that point, though. they are tired. There's no excuse, and this is just, these are certain things that, again, Sharia is very clear with this. And again, I tell everybody, buy this book, Reliance of the Traveler with 2 L's. I don't recommend buying it from Muslim bookstores because I'm not going to give them money. I'll buy it off Amazon. Some bookstore owner can get the money, but I don't want to give it to Muslims. And this is exactly where I'm getting the information. When they write to each other, they tell the truth. When they write to you and I, they tell lies practicing taqiyya. So this is what we need to do. We need to read what they're telling each other. I also recommend the Quran, which is correctly translated. Most are not correctly translated. It's called the Generous Quran. It's translated by Usama Dakdok, D-A-K-D-O-K. Fascinating gentleman. This guy, once you read this particular version of the Quran, you will be horrified, because what you've read before and what's on the shelves in the libraries, your public libraries, is not accurately translated.
So again, let me just get the name of that straight, Paul Sutliff. That's the Jenna's Quran. How do you spell Jenna?
Generous.
Oh, the Generous Quran. And the author or the translator is Dakdok. How do you spell that?
D-A-K-D-O-K.
D-A-K-D-O-K. So Dakdok, the Dakdok Generous Quran edition. Okay. Well,
this is a mind blower to me when I found this. To look at what the difference of translations say, and then put this one out, you're like, whoa.
Well, in the whole doctrine of slavery in Islam, having sex with a female slave is a moral good. A married slave can be used for sex. In other words, another man's wife is your slave can be used for sex. Let's say the man's wife is missing, or if she's been seized in battle. The captives of jihad can be used for sex. That's why we have many Europeans and about 400 English and dozens of Americans have gone overseas to fight with ISIS so that they can have this indulgence. It is a kind of indulgence. And Muhammad always got the pick of the captives to be used for sex. He would, when captives were coming, he took the juiciest, most delightful female, and the white women, Christian women, were the prize among Muslim fighters for hundreds of years.
That's 100% accurate. In fact, you'll find one case where one of his quote wives was actually taken as booty. They killed her father and brothers, and then he insisted she become his. She had a choice: convert or be a sex slave. So she converted to be his wife. And that was for her safety and for the safety of the rest of her people. So, and then he raped her right there. You killed the woman's father, you kill her brothers, and now you're going to threaten to kill her family and friends. I still consider that rape.
Well, it's interesting that we have here in Chattanooga and around the country, we have very, very progressive-minded people who are defending Islam and who are very critical of people such as Jim Hammond, the Hamilton County Sheriff, who in a presentation that is available today at Nooganomics.com, who effectively condemns the Muslim theory, the Muslim argument, as a military invasion project of the United States of Tennessee. He says that Tennessee is a prime target for the Muslim horde, if you will, the Muslim invasion, and it is not peaceable. It is not. It intends to overturn free government, constitutional government, and is a grave threat to the public peace, he says. And he is being roundly condemned by various people, including Christian ministers here and progressive people. What is it in these in Americans that lead them to effectively defend slavery and sex slavery in attacking and rebuking public figures such as Hamilton County Sheriff Jim Hammond? What do you make of that, Paul Sutliff?
I wrote an article recently challenging the president of Yale and the law dean to a debate, since they're defending Sharia. I got 5 points I want to debate. One is I want them to defend the legality of pedophilia under Sharia. They want Yale Law School is now going to have a Sharia school. They're going to legitimize teaching Sharia in the United States, and they're going to legitimize Sharia courts. The only excuse for this is ignorance. I get a little upset when I hear about people saying, well, they're good people, they don't hurt people. You don't understand. This is part of this is a political entity. That sheriff is 100% right. I'll tell you what, I would come down and shake his hand, give him a hug, and tell him he's 100% correct. And the people of his county should vote for him over and over again because he's there to defend you. That is not happening where I live. That is not happening in Syracuse, New York. The mayor of the town has asked for more Syrian refugees to come. 80% of those claiming Syrian heritage have been found in the refugee camps not to be from Syria. This is a fact that has been on the web, in the news for almost a month now. We had the Assistant Director of Counterterrorism for the FBI testify before Congress, and he said, we can't even know if who these people are. We can't know their names. And he said, there are no databases to look at. Syria is a failed state. There is no way to confirm anything. 2 weeks ago, passports were purchased by the BBC. They had their names on them, and they said they were Syrians. They were being purchased, I believe, for $780, something like that. And this is just every day this is happening. When the group that our president calls ISIL, which is way off, it's Islamic State, takes over an area, the first thing they do is they run in to the government locations. They take the machines that make things like passports, and they sell them online. Why? They're making hundreds of thousands of dollars to other Muslims, and they're sending their fighters and putting their fighters on their own passport, making passports for their fighters and sending them along with the, quote, refugees. Take a look at the people getting off the trains in Europe that are, quote, refugees. And the majority of them are men. Almost all of them are men.
Very young men in the 20s.
Yeah, they're not old men. They're young. They're ready for fights. And this is happening today in Europe.
Well, let me ask about.
We
have, and the Europeans don't know how to resist this. It is a very form of rapidly growing cancer, and European governments not having any Christian bearing, not believing in God, but actually being kind of evolutionary materialists, overseers of their welfare states, don't have the moral or intellectual wherewithal to say we are facing a lethal threat to our countries, our domains, our countries, our peoples, our heritage. They are facing a lethal threat. They can't see that because they're purely secularists. Is it possible that Christianity has a countervailing argument, and can, if people in authority have a Christian perspective, that they will be able to take proper steps to resist what effectively appears to be an invasion?
It is an invasion. Again, this is the two words that the name of my book, Civilization Jihad. This is an active civilization jihad. It is called this. Their purpose is coming here to take over. There is no other purpose. Again, the term they use for what they're doing is called al-hijra. Al-hijra is the word migration. They are not allowed under Sharia to come to a non-Muslim country. You're allowed to leave a non-Muslim country and go to a Muslim country. But to go the other way, you are not allowed to do that unless your purpose is for jihad. This is, again, Sharia. In fact, it's in the Quran over and over and over again. First the migration, then the jihad. And I've got about 8 citations. You can read that on my blog site, paulsutliff.blogspot.com. You can find my articles on peoplespunditdaily.com also now.
That's People's Pundit Daily, is that correct?
peoplespunditdaily.com.
We're talking with Paul Sutliff from Rochester, New York. He's a teacher. He's 50 years old. His book is Civilization, Jihad, and the Myth of Modern Islam. Well, what are the progressive steps that we can look for here in Tennessee, Paul, that are signs of gaining ascendancy, of consolidation of the Muslim theory? What are the steps, and what's the first step in Tennessee?
Sorry, please repeat that.
Well, the question is about the steps for consolidation of Muslim theory. How does it start? What is the end, and where does it end? You said there are 5 or 6 steps that in the Muslim Brotherhood idea of a country that's pagan, that's Dar al-Harb, meaning a land of war. How is it that a land of war is converted? What steps are taken to convert a Dar al-Harb land of war to a Dar al-Islam, which is to say a land of submission? How can Tennessee be converted over time into a land of submission?
I'll tell you what's the first thing that's happened. The first thing that's happened is they have to reach between 20 to 30%. Once they reach between 20 and 30%, they will begin doing things like, actually, this right now, you're seeing it today. We'll talk about what you're seeing today. You're seeing in Texas, you saw them try to get a Sharia court, and they did not. The mayor of the town stopped it. This was Irving, Texas. The people down there took care of matters, and the mayor, the outstanding mayor, took care of business, and that's no longer there. This is the new thing, legitimizing Sharia through putting it in your colleges. Yale Law School, if you put, they took $10 million from an Al-Qaeda financer to bring this here. Now, how does that affect you? Now you're going to have somebody in your local town who says they went to Yale and learned Sharia, so now they should be able to teach, to have Sharia courts in Tennessee. That's what's happening now. It's happening today. That this is happening. They decided they're going to take $10 million from a guy who's been called by the FBI an Al-Qaeda financer. And this is, and again, that you'll find my article on that in peoplespunditdaily.com. This is a very real reality. The next step, they're going to actually commit, after they get their Sharia areas, they'll have no-go zones, which they already have in Europe. They're working all over. Actually, if you go to places like Holland, England, you cannot walk in certain areas. If you walk in those areas and you're playing music, you have the crap beat out of you. If you have, if you're a female and you're not fully covered like in a full burqa, you'll get the crap beat out of you. And this is the kind of things that's happening today in Europe. I'm not ready for that to happen to my area. I'm going to keep telling the truth until somebody wakes up. And again, check what I'm saying. Please do look up the books. I'm open to debating anyone on this topic. And the fun thing about that is, when you have truth on your side, you can't lose. So
and the truth, Paul Sutliff, the truth, Paul Sutliff, is not
and share the truth.
The truth, Paul Sutliff, is not allegations by Christians or by secularists about what Islamists believe. Your effort is to say, well, let's just look at the trilogy, the three pillars of authority in Islam, which is the Quran, the Hadith, which is the commentary, and then the Sirah, which is the biography of Muhammad, who was a perfect man, and whose military and sexual exploits, whose violence are models for the modern Muslim man today, the faithful Muslim commoner today.
And it's a good thing you point that out. This is actually one of the things I do when I meet Muslims. First thing I'll ask them to see where this person stands. I'll say, you believe Muhammad's the perfect man? They'll go, yeah. And I say, so you're okay with your daughter being married off at the age of 6 and being vetted by the age of 9? And they're like, what? Oh. Are you going to tell me he's not a perfect man now, I say? And they won't answer that. The thing is, you have to confront the Muslims with this harsh truth and reality. Do they really believe that it's okay for their daughters to be sold to become some man's bride at the age of 6? After all, this happened with Muhammad, the perfect man. And they all want to be like him. Are they all willing to be pedophiles? I don't know. But it's a kind of a scary thought. If you consider a pedophile a perfect man, I've got major concerns about your mental health.
Let me ask you a quick question, Paul Sutliff, about fornication. Is it possible in the Arab world to be a fornicator? In Christianity, there are many warnings against it, and the sexual interest is very, very strongly walled in by the gospel to marriage only. Sex is only to be in marriage. However, in the Muslim world, sex is used in many, many areas. Is it possible to be a fornicator and a Muslim, or is fornication not any kind of offense against God in that world?
Great question. They will tell you, no, there's no sex outside of marriage. Here's the catch. They have temporary marriages with the prostitutes, and having sex with a sex slave is not considered sex outside of marriage. Again, prostitutes, they actually go through a temporary marriage thing, so they're married for the night. Again, remember, polygamy is allowed under Islam. So you can have as many wives as you can afford to support. There's no real limit as far as number. Again, you have to be able to financially support them. And this is what it comes down to. I mean, the truth of the matter is, if they want these people, they want to allow the sex. We're in the Christian world, sex outside of marriage is what's forbidden. It's one of the proofs that I think that Christianity is real is look at the lack of sexual disease among those who are practicing Bible believers who do not engage in sex outside of marriage. Will you find any sexually transmitted diseases in a person who does not practice sex outside of marriage?
Paul Sutliff?
I believe you'll find this growth in Islam as well.
Paul Sutliff, thanks.
Huge growth in it.
Paul Sutliff, thanks for chatting with my listener and me here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
Thank you.
Expect a wet, foggy, and cool start to your Friday with areas of rain pushing through. They may taper off late. Highs only 60 to 63. Tonight, a few lingering showers, lows upper 50s. The weekend still unsettled, especially Saturday with showers likely with highs through Sunday, staying into the 60s. For lunch or dinner, come to Guthrie's, home of the original golden fried chicken finger with their special world famous sauce. Open daily locations in Trenton, Signal Mountain, and Ringgold. Go get Guthrie's. It's always good. And I'm WDEF News 12 Chief Meteorologist Patrick Orr. On AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
It's Rick Davis Golden Diamonds half-off remounting party going on right now. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds half-off remounting party is an affordable way to revitalize your jewelry. Don't miss the party going on today at Rick Davis half-off remounting party. Give your diamond ring a fresh new look or a new design, as Rick's Golden Diamonds will fix it quickly, or maybe even while you wait. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, 40 years of service, 5301 Brainerd Road, 5301 Brainerd Road. Call 580-2587, 580-2587 for Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, an affordable way to revitalize your jewelry. The half-off party's going on today, so don't miss it at Rick Davis Golden Diamonds. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds, 5301 Brainerd Road. Call 580-2587. Rick Davis Golden Diamonds.
Hey, all you gun enthusiasts! Carter Shooting Supply has just bought a crazy load of guns and is having a crazy huge sale event. Going on now, a huge inventory of Smith & Wesson, Glock, Ruger, and Taurus, all on sale. Taurus guns have a mail-in rebate for $25 to $50. All long guns and all ammo on sale, too, just in time for hunting season. Come in and take advantage of this crazy huge sale event going on now at Carter Shooting Supply, or shop from home by going to cartershootingsupply.com. Highway 58, Harrison. Check our prices before you buy.
Are you tired of working in corporate America, or have you recently lost your job and would like to consider owning your own business? If you are, please call me, as I can help you look at franchises or business opportunities that fit you, the economy that we're in, and the type of businesses that are right in the greater Chattanooga area. After I help my clients find the right opportunity, I also help them find the best way to finance the business, including paying yourself through the startup phase. If you would like to learn more about opportunities that may be right for you, please call me for a free assessment. My name is Bruce Krebs at the Entrepreneur Source. Phone number is 423-875-5621.
Cell Surgeon, an affordable quick fix for your smartphone and tablet in Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
We do the best quality work, we have the best customer service, the most competitive prices around.
Cell Surgeon, a painless operation to fix your sick device.
Well, if you have a cheap charger or something that's not really designed for your phone, it can mess with your battery. It can actually fry your phone. So you need to make sure you have a quality product that's going to be designed for your phone.
Cell Surgeon, your smartphone doctor's in the house at the Northgate Mall next to Old Chicago Pizza.
If you charge it in the morning and, by noon, it's at, 50% under normal use. That means your battery's pretty much dead. And once you've reached that point, it starts to deteriorate.
Cell Surgeon, call 423-668-0100 or go to cellphonerepairchattanooga.com.
We do free estimates. If your phone's not working properly, bring it in when you want